My name's Darren Tang. I'm originally from San Francisco, now residing in Las Vegas, and I like the pitch black.
Now, Darren, you've been using so much traditional urethane now for so many years. We're actually considering renaming it Urethane or Urethane.
Urethane, yeah.
What do you think? What do you like better?
I love that, Urethane. Since streaming on Twitch, the pitch black has kind of exploded there, and urethane has actually become a term they use all the time.
So I'm guessing you probably started, when you started bowling, you probably started with reactives. If so, when was that? How old were you? What was your first bowling ball? And then when did you start using urethane?
I actually threw plastic balls growing up when I first started. So I started when I was 8 years old. So that was 2001 or 2002. I remember I had a bunch of different plastic balls, and I threw kind of like Tom Smallwood with my thumb in the ball for 5 years, which is why I only used plastic. When I started to develop a little bit, I think my first reactive ball was the hot rod. I do remember that. But when I started using urethane, it was probably towards the end of college. It seemed like a necessity going to junior gold every year. I remember throwing the natural pearl my last year of junior gold, but I didn't really start throwing it a lot until I started bowling on tour.
Now, we have heard of a lot of people using urethane at some of these higher level junior competitions. Why is that?
I think today there's a lot more power amongst the kids, especially with the two-handers, and it's an option that allows them to play straighter. And in a lot of circumstances, especially on the harder patterns, you can't move left and hook the lane because they're a lot flatter in the competitive scene. So I think that's a big reason why urethanes emerged as such a useful tool. Yeah, so Twitch is a streaming platform originally meant for gaming, but it's kind of expanded into a lot of different things. So you could really stream whatever you want now, and I kind of 50-50 stream between playing games and bowling-related content.
Cool. How'd you get into that?
I was actually inspired by Brad and Kyle with their YouTube channel. I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to start growing my brand in a different way, and the live interaction aspect of it kind of drew me towards Twitch, and they really helped me they really pushed me towards just doing it. They said, if you want to do something, you just gotta get your foot in the door and roll with it. So that's what happened.
So your first national show, I think it was at the National Bowling Stadium.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, on Cheetah.
On the Cheetah pattern, and I think you finished runner-up maybe to Mike Wolf.
Mike Wolf,
Is that right? Yeah, and you were using urethane on that show, on your very first Cheetah pattern. I think is something that several people have used, maybe urethanes for. What was that like making your first show? And then was there a decision on whether or not you were going to be throwing the urethane ball for that?
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth?
It was kind of a funny story, actually. I didn't throw urethane at all in the matches. I don't even remember throwing it in qualifying. But that was 4 years ago, so I don't remember a ton. But the decision to throw urethane was made because Simo was going to throw urethane. So I wanted to play straighter. In my head, I didn't really understand as much about how urethane affected the lanes and how it would transition. So I said, I want to play straighter because I don't want urethane to the transition to mess up whatever I had with reactive. Little did I know, it kind of made it better for reactive, but that's the big reason why I chose to throw the pitch black on that show.
And Tang, by the way, is still involved in college bowling. You take a look at his arsenal here. And how about the 3.5 on the pitch black? Urethane. Another strike for Tang. It's what we used to use when I first came out on tour, Dave.
And what was that show like for you? I mean, what was it as far as handling the nerves? Were you feeling the heat or the pressure? Or was it not really that big of a deal?
I think the only thing that really bothered me was the approaches, because they were super slippery. And my timing was even earlier than it is now. So on a certain step, I don't remember what step it was back then, I was slipping before my slide step. So that was the biggest thing that was getting to me. So making good shots was really difficult for me. But I think I zoned in pretty well for the first game. I was the high game with 230 something. But as the lane started to change and I needed to change my ball speed, I started having trouble with my foot speed. And making the adjustments, trying to throw a ball that didn't want to work anymore, just made it difficult. And I think I ended up on 140 something.
Which happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, definitely. Especially like on your first show when you get the lights, you got the different conditions. It was really slippery, which is something we didn't have to deal with all week. It's really easy to fall into a bad place when you're not comfortable.
Yeah, that is true. So you made several shows. One of them being the 2017 USBC Masters show. There was a lot of urethane going down there that day on that show. I think actually I think everybody but Alex Hoskins was using a pitch black, and I think you got beat by some no-name guy.
Yeah, some kid named Mikey.
Some kid named
Yeah, it was tough because his look on the fresh was probably the best in the entire building for the entire tournament. I think he was leading after 2 blocks, maybe. He was really high up there, I don't remember, but he was bowling really well. He had really good ball reaction. Honestly, if he caught Belmo in the first 2 games, I think he wins the Masters. His look was that good. It was unbelievable. So to catch him game 2 of the TV show, when the lanes were starting to change, but not, I think, enough, is what hurt me. I didn't make the best shots on that show either. He definitely outbowled me, and he had better ball reaction, so it was definitely his to take for that match. But, I mean, what hit him at the end for the title match was what I was hoping would happen during our match. But, yeah, it was a good week.
Right after this one, the World Bowling Tour Finals. Yeah. What do you have to do to reboot, wipe the slate clean for that?
Well, luckily I have my family here, so I can spend some time with them and play with the kids. And that just attacking a 10 straight. Okay, I wasn't trying to keep you.
We're trying to get our balls to hook before the end of the pattern, no matter what we're bowling on, whether it's 45 feet, 35 feet. And urethane wants to read almost as soon as it's lane, as soon as possible. So it's easier for me to tweak that than to try to tame down reactive balls. So that's why I lean towards throwing urethane.
Is there any type of advice you would have for somebody who typically has maybe shied away from urethane?
I think it's an education process. Definitely go out there, find resources, go to your local pro shop, ask questions about specific balls. Namely, we're talking about urethane. You can visit the Storm website or the YouTube channel. I think that those are very resourceful places to learn more about urethane. And if you have contact with local professionals, maybe, because typically the higher level bowlers are using urethane, so they may have some pieces of advice.
The fast pitch hasn't hit the market yet, so you haven't had an opportunity to use it for score, only just to kind of evaluate it a little bit, on lane. What's your initial thoughts of it?
It's a little cleaner than the pitch black, and I think a lot of people that don't like to throw urethane might like the fast pitch a little more, because it's still your traditional urethane, same urethane shape, but it gets to the front part of the lane a little more. So it may actually come into play on some easier patterns for some people that may shy away from urethane, like you said before, just because it's a little bit cleaner. So it's going to provide a little more down the lane.